in the Newsarama Skybox here at New York Comic Con, and our latest guest right now is Dean Haspiel, who is working on Archie Comics' upcoming The Fox. Well, it's not new for Archie, right?
No, well, it's a renew for Archie.
Ooh.
Let's put it that way. It's a character that was created in 1940. And actually, I don't know, it might have been under a different name, MLJ Comics or something like that, back when it was the three guys who created, Archie Comics. And there have been many iterations. But what's really cool is that it's an open continuity. You don't have to feel like you need to have 75 years worth of knowledge about this. You can dive right in, which is the latitude I was given for the Fox series. So.
And tell us who this guy is, real quick.
All right, so the Fox is a guy named Paul Patton Jr., and he's actually the son of the original Fox, okay, just so that there's an updated version.
Yeah.
Oh, so that wasn't always the setup?
No. Well, yeah, right. I mean, he's a photo. In the 1980s, they did an iteration of the Fox through a guy named Alex Toth. Have you heard of this guy?
Yeah.
Awesome, famous cartoonist. And so the Fox was in a backup feature called The Black Hood, and he actually only did two issues of this character, but he made such an imprint on the Fox that a lot of artists and even fans have remembered this character. And there have been other stories, but the Fox is a guy named Paul Patton Jr., who's a photojournalist, okay? And this iteration, he's just come back from Japan with his wife and son to come back to Impact City, which is where the Red Circle universe lives. And unfortunately, he's come back and half of his teammates from the Mighty Crusaders have been killed and murdered and are dead. Okay?
While he was on vacation.
While he's on vacation out in Japan.
Don't go away.
Yeah, don't go away.
Work.
Exactly. So, but he's also coming back because he has an estranged daughter, otherwise known as the Fly, who's part of the New Crusaders, and he wants to make amends with her. He has a son and, like I said, a wife. And it turns out that a lot of the family also tend to be superheroes as well, which we'll get into later.
That's always the way.
It is. So it's like Christmas sweaters,
Everyone needs one.
Anyway, he comes back and, he basically, one of the things we've posited is that he became the Fox so he can get good stories and journalism. In other words,
it's like the opposite of Spider-Man.
It is the opposite. Well, I always said that Paul Patton is like a post-coital Peter Parker.
Wow.
Anyway,
nice.
Having said that,
because after you change.
That's right.
For Archie Comics.
Right.
Yeah.
For Archie, I mean, it just makes sense, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
someone in that universe has to be having sex.
Somebody. Hello. And actually, and honestly, there it is. Well, look at that costume. Come on.
He's already ready to go.
That is.
He's ready to go.
It just flies off his body.
It screams bondage.
Yeah.
God, this is terrible. I'm so sorry.
No, this is perfect.
So anyway, so he comes back, and the twist is this: because he's been kind of he puts on this costume, he gets these stories. He's now become kind of a freak magnet. He attracts trouble all the time. To the point where he's like, I want this to stop. We got to chill this out. So he's actually on the verge of quitting. He's like,
when the series starts?
When the series starts, he's very distracted. He's getting punched out by two thugs who are basically kind of, God, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this either, but whatever. I don't know if you can see this, but I kind of loosely based him on Fat OJ and Patton Oswalt. So anyway, he's getting beat up by these guys.
Very loosely based.
And he could beat the hell out of them, but he's so distracted by his longing, his dreaming for, I just want to live a boring life. I want to have a house in the suburbs. I want to paint a fence like Tom Sawyer. And then he's he's feeling guilty because his wife is complaining about he's not putting the cap back on the mouthwash, or why'd you put a wet towel in the laundry? That kind of domestic stuff.
He wants those big problems.
And he wants those big first world problems.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that in mind, it's kind of this dichotomy of him he can't help that he's actually a really good superhero. In fact, he's a superhero without superpowers.
Right.
That's how cool he is.
Yeah.
All right. But he attracts
and he's still
trouble.
So good at it.
He's really good at it, and he attracts trouble to the point where he tussles with a character called Madam Satan. She's also a character from the 1940s, and she's trying to spark a new apocalypse through social networking. And that's the first issue.
I'm actually doing that as well.
Hello. I think it's called Facebook.
Yeah, it's called getting followers on Twitter.
That's right. The apocalypse. So then, right on the heels of having that tussle, another woman comes in, named the Queen of Diamonds, who kind of like scoops him up and takes him to another realm. So the story goes from like normal pulpy kind of thug, crime stuff to having this twisted Madam Satan character to going off the rails into another realm where I say it's akin to Apocalypse Now meets the Island of Lost Souls or the Island of Dr. Moreau, and that's kind of where it veers into, and it gets really nuts.
So because it is a classic character, you're sort of moving through genres in that way?
It's a bunch of genres, mashed up.
Yeah.
And honestly, we got Mark Waid to come and do the dialogue on the story, and he actually makes sense out of my jargon, So
what's the process like? What do you give him?
All right, well, what he gets after my editor approves the story, I have a beat sheet, basically, of what I intend to do. He takes a look-see to make sure it's not totally retarded, okay? But though we like some of that. Mm-hmm. Is that another bad word? I mean, I'm terrible at this. I'm so sorry. And then I draw it, and then we send him the artwork, and he takes a look at it. We go over the phone, and I remind him of some of the tonal stuff that I was going for, some of the agendas of the stories. And then like a day or two later, he sends back a master script.
So it's like
old
dialogue. School. Right?
It is old school,
yeah,
absolutely. Like Stanley, Jack Kirby, Ditko type stuff. So that's how we're working.
Does some cool stuff come out of that, kind of working that way?
It's a really good collaboration. I think, gosh, you know what? For me, because I desire to be more of a writer than just an artist. And actually, in comics, image is text too.
Mm-hmm.
So I am storytelling. I'm telling. I'm not sitting there drawing poster art. I'm showing a story happen.
Right.
A lot of aspiring artists don't understand that.
It's storytelling.
Yeah.
It's a shortcut art that expresses story. So I get to flex those muscles a lot more. And then, like I said, we get big bad Mark Waid to come in and make sure it makes sense. And then in that level, I really love working that way. And also, he injects such a great personality into these characters.
Yeah.
In a way, I was discussing this with Mark the other day, because he's a reporter, it's almost like the way he writes them, it's like he's live blogging the adventure as it's happening.
Oh, that's cool.
But he's giving other insight into what's happening that's not in the pictures. So
I love that way of working. I wish more books were designed that way, where there was someone that was someone handling the story, but someone with an outside eye to just like, oh, let's do a little bit of this here just to and put it out there.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of great artists that but that can't tell a story to save their life. Yeah. And then there are great artists who can tell a story and draw. But then there are like some that like really it is about the art is not like the fanciest or the Hollywood blockbuster type thing, but they can really serve a story. That's the key is to serve a story.
So how'd you land the gig?
I got on my knees.
Yeah.
No, what happened is actually
prayed.
I prayed. That's it.
Yeah.
Prayed. It was a Sunday. No, I have a pal who used to work at Jim Hanley's University named Vito Del Sante. Are you familiar with Vito?
Yeah.
All right,
Very
so
well.
he writes comics as well, and he had just gotten a gig at Archie doing a backup story. I forget who it was featuring, Black Hood actually. And he told me this, and he was like really happy about it. I was like, damn, do you think you could hook me up? Like, I've always loved the Fox, this character that I was introduced to in 1983 at the newsstand, and then I realized it was an older character. But I always kind of had an affection for this character, to the point where I created a character called the Red Hook that's based on a Brooklyn, neighborhood.
Oh yeah,
I
live there.
That's right. So I did a character called Red Hook, and so he gave me the editor's name, Paul Kaminsky, and I sent him my Red Hook story saying, I want to do a Fox story. And he wrote back right away, said, okay, let's do a Fox story. And he allowed me to pitch a 6-page backup story type thing, right? So we did that, and on the heels of doing that, he dug it so much, and I assume the rest of the Archie gang and Red Circle Comics, that he said, why don't we do a 5-issue miniseries?
Oh, that's great.
Then I had to come up with a 5-issue miniseries.
So they weren't even going to do the Fox. And
Not necessarily.
You brought him back.
It was me. It's because of me. Yeah, basically.
Oh, great.
And my Emmy for Bored to Death.
Yeah. I know, it's so much, the word Emmy's all over this.
It's all over.
It's amazing.
It's subliminal, but it's there.
It's a quiet Emmy, lowercase e.
Yeah.
And when does it come out?
Guess what? This comes out at the end of the month, October 30th.
Okay.
Way to make eye contact with the viewers.
At finer comic shops. Okay. And digital.
Yes.
It'll be out the same day, digital and print. So, and I'm doing a signing at Jim Hanley's Universe in Manhattan from 6 to 8.
Excellent. When? On that day, October.
That day?
That day, come on.
I don't know. You're like, I'm doing it
That
sometime.
day, yeah.
You'll figure it out.
That day.
I'll be there now.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. The book looks great.
Thank you.
Thanks for talking with us.
Thank you.
And you guys stay tuned for plenty more from Comic.